So we are in the middle of a Because She Dared to Get Visible series. Hi, Meredith. Let's bring her on. Grabatin, author and coach for purpose-driven entrepreneurs with a God dream. Just means a vision bigger than you can handle on your own, which is what we're going to talk about today, and helping you move from scattered to scared and calmly productive in making your impact. And so I'm here today with Meredith Raber. Is it Raber, right?
Yeah, Raber.
Yes, from Meredith Raber Virtual Assistant Services. And so I'm really excited. I got to know Meredith just this year. And so that's been really fun, getting to know you and what you do and just kind of seeing you shine in all you do. So let's let's just start with kind of what you do and how you got started with that first, because I love that.
Yeah, so as Emily said, I am I run Meredith Raber Virtual Assistant Services, which is a boutique virtual assistant service agency. We work with many industries, but we really focus on coaches, helping with their digital marketing, everything from social media to email marketing to podcast management. I also have just launched a VA course, and I mentor VAs, which is really fun because the reason I started mentoring VAs is because my business has been such a game changer for my family, but I wasn't always an entrepreneur. It's never something I thought I would do. I was a corporate girl all the way. I used to work in corporate advertising for 10 years. And then I had my second son and I kind of was like, what am I doing? There's just too much time away from them. I want to have a career, but also be present for them. So I took a step back from corporate and honestly just found the world of virtual assistants. I never knew what a virtual assistant was, and I knew someone who was one, so I kind of picked her brain for a second and I just jumped right in, and that was in 2017. So now I've been running my business for 5 years.
Wow. So tell me, the kind of theme here is I call it Because She Dared to Get Visible. Because really at some point you have an idea and then you want people on board with it, and then you got to talk about it and put yourself out there, right? So tell me about, is there a time when you realized, okay, I got to do this thing, put myself out there, and you were either very scared or resistant or just like awkward about it? And now looking back, you're like, oh, that totally paid off. But at the time, which is probably where people are now when they're listening, watching, they're thinking, oh my gosh, like, really, do I have to? So do you have a story? Do you have a time that you can remember going back to?
When I first started my business, I was so embarrassed to talk about it or show up online, even though I was servicing online businesses. I just have never really been in a front of the camera person. And so social media, I love doing it for clients, still do. But for me to like step out in front of it and be on video and have pictures of myself, I was like, why do people care? Why do they care who my family is? But they do. And so I would say the whole first year of my business was, double checking every single caption, wondering about the pictures, the graphics. I hid behind a logo a lot. Like I use stock photography in all my marketing. I just didn't really want to like jump ahead of it. But then as soon as I felt like more confident in my business and that it was going to be successful, because, you're always worried, what if I don't get a client? Or is this business actually real? I think was like the main hurdle I needed to get through. Then I felt more confident and I started. And also it was just the more I did it, it felt more normal to just go out online and talk about my services and talk about what I could do for people, which that's really scary at first,
So I guess if you're watching the replay or now as you tune in, there's the kind of feeling scared, the hesitant, like, I don't want to put it. What are the words that come along? Maybe you put that in the comments. What are the words that come along with, like, but, or what if? What's your what if you do that? Like, what if this, or, but I don't want to. Why would they want to see my face? Why do they, care about seeing this and this. Like, yeah. So, yeah, it's something to think about. If you put it into words, that's actually going to help. So, I was thinking of the people that would be tuning into this. Actually, my husband just told me he was going to tune in because he got an invitation on my email list, and so
Great.
it sounded interesting. And then he might be waiting till the replay so that he doesn't make me feel awkward. Who knows? We'll see. But I'm just thinking of all the kinds of people listening, and there's the myriad of them because basically the question of the topic we are going to talk about today is how, when you have so much going on as a new entrepreneur or first starting out or further into the journey, whatever stage, there's a stage that you get overwhelmed and there's just too much to do. So I have some people that I've talked to in my book club, our Dare to Decide book club. So the dream's still on their heart. There's this big dream has been weighing on them for years, and they keep inching closer, and then it's not quite the time yet. But what is most daunting is thinking of all the things they're not good at, that they haven't learned yet, the tech things to figure out, the visibility. How do I get people to find out about that? Is there another way other than social media, right? Like all of these things. So there's the person who hasn't even started yet, and it's like, okay, how do I do this? I'm not even good at those things. How can I just do what I'm good at and not do all the other things? Then there's the person who just started and they dove in and they met all those challenges, and they're quickly realizing, oh, like, how do I first of all figure out which actions matter most for me to do? Because I could busy myself all day. I don't know if you did this, but as in my earlier years, I very easily did all of the behind the scenes busy fiddly things that actually weren't the ones that would make a difference. I don't know how much time I spent just like trying to make my website or fix my website.
Oh my God, me too. It's like the most embarrassing story.
If you're starting out, that's your safety zone. You want to get it just right. And I'm telling you, it is not the end all be all when you're starting out. People are like, yes, it has a part in your role, but it's not the answer, and it's not the one that's probably going to move you forward the most. But boy, it feels like that at the time, right?
We all do it.
Yeah. So then once you move in, you're a few years in, and you've kind of figured out what the core of your business is, what these like money-making actions are, but also I've got to do these things too because they do make a difference in the long run, or I need to simplify what I do. All of the things. Whatever stage at, tell me some of your insights for the person who's feeling drained by all of things or just overwhelmed by all of them. What's your kind of top tips there?
So I kind of have two recommendations depending on who it is. So if it's for the person who's just starting out and is just so overwhelmed and can't decide and can't move forward, my biggest message for you is messy action. Like, I came from corporate, everything needed to be 100% approved, like 12 approvals. Like, for me, just to be like, oh, it looks good, and like put it out into the world was so frightening. So what I've learned in the last 5 years is it's okay. Just like do it. And if it's not good, it'll get better. But for the person who is, maybe a little bit farther along in their business and they are just overwhelmed because there's just too much going on. They've got client work, they're working on products, whatever it is, outsourcing is really key into getting those little tasks that like are filling up your brain, because the Facebook post, the sending an email out, or even just scheduling it, like not even creating the content, like just scheduling things. Those are the things that take up the mind space. Mm-hmm. And when you don't need to hire a full-time person, you don't even need to hire a part-time person. You can start as little as like 10 hours a month, which you're like, does that seem like a lot of time? It is incredible as a small business owner to give 10 hours away of your tasks and then have that for money-making activities, as you said, or tasks that are actually going to change your business, reaching out to possible clients. Those things always fall to the wayside. So when you outsource those little tasks, and what I like to recommend to anyone who's thinking about it, maybe even in the next 3 to 6 months, is just start noting the things that you personally don't need to be doing. So like, whatever is not the core of your business. Maybe you're scheduling social posts, maybe you're sending invoices to clients. That's not something that your genius needs to be doing. That's something we could put a process together and have somebody else do it for you, just as you're thinking through. And then once you're ready and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to hire a teammate, just have a list of those things and you can create those processes as you go. You don't have to have them ready to go. I think that's another thing I hear from clients or potential clients is, well, I don't have a process for that. How am I going to tell you how to do it? A good VA is going to do it for you. They're going to say, okay, I'll create the SOP. I'll do it for you. We'll figure out a process. It's no big deal, you know, especially as a solopreneur, you don't have all that time to like have processes in place already. So yeah, I would say outsourcing is definitely key on a small scale. You don't need to get many hours, you know, our investments are tough, you know, depending on how much you're making in your business at the time, but small investment will make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. For the person, because I know some people that get overwhelmed just the thought of making the list of either everything that they do, because all of a sudden their mind starts to problem solve, or the whole idea of making a list is overwhelming and they're drained just by the end of that. So how do you break that process even down so that it can actually move you forward and position you? I mean, because we think anytime you're a detail person, you're like a list person. It's like you live and breathe lists, right? I'm guessing that you do.
I love
list person because that's why you're in the business. But I also know a lot of times I work with like visionary people, and they're like they're 10 ideas ahead, and they're all ideas, and drilling them down to those details is so draining for them, which is why I know that they're struggling, or they've got so many ideas. The thought of writing it down is draining and overwhelming, and they just want to move on. If they have an idea, they're like, oh, I got to, work on it right away. It's just a lot of things spinning down. Do you have any insight for just how do you even make that process accessible for them?
Well, I feel like those are the type of clients that we work with a lot, right? They're the creatives, the visionaries. They need help because they're not able to project manage. That's why they need a team to help them out. So a lot of the times, maybe just having someone talk to them, brain dump about what you actually need to be done and have them detail it out, Also, I like to have maybe like a brain dump once in a while. Maybe not a list. It doesn't have to be a list. Maybe it's a voice note. I know a lot of people like to do voice notes. I'm a handwrite person, which is so old school, or it's a digital note or whatever. Just as things come to your mind, just jot them down in the best way possible. Or if you are going to be hiring someone, hire them to take all these notes and figure out what needs to be done. If they're just overwhelmed with tasks, you can sit down. What I do a lot in consultations is people will just be like, I don't even know where to start. Like, this is what we're doing. How can you help? Like, that's the question. And then we kind of go through, okay, well, let's start with this. And we kind of audit what's going on. So you can have someone do that for you too, audit what's going on in your business. And they can say, hey, these are the recommendations of the things we need to start on first. And then we can move down the list if that's not, something they like to do.
Yeah, just the thought of someone organizing your brain with all of the clutter that's going around and the ideas swirling, and we got to do this and this, and I know sometimes my brain is this weird combination of details and systemize, but it's like it comes out in a burst sometimes of all of them all at once, that all of a sudden everything shuts down. I gotta walk away from it, and then I gotta like let it out slowly and just say, okay, let's just do this, and we'll leave and come back to it. Because I've worked with so many visionaries for a while. I've like organized, and I kind of learn how they think and work in it. And then, sometimes when it's my own project, then, I'm like, oh, who's going to do that for me? And it's hard sometimes to do it for yourself. So if you're watching, first of all, this is not like a less than thing, like, oh, I need help because I'm not naturally wired this way. For one, that, like, all the grace to you. We all have strengths and gifts, and I think that's the most beautiful thing in the world. Because Meredith, you probably could have done a bunch of things, but you chose virtual assistant because, it wasn't just there's a bunch of things you could do from home or have flexibility, but you chose something that, because there's something that attracted to you to all the things a VA does. Now, are there things that VAs do that you're like, I don't really want to include that in my services for any
Oh,
particular reason?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
My background is in marketing, digital marketing, so I really focus on more of the marketing side of things. But VAs can do so many things, like what we were talking about with websites and all that. They can do website maintenance. They can do so many things. I started in general admin, but I don't really do that anymore. So there's so many things that VAs can do. But yeah, I really focus on more of the marketing aspect of things because that's just where my expertise comes from.
Yes, Megan's saying, yeah, so true, helpful for us multi-passionate people. If you're looking for, big dreamer, multi-passionate, just juggling a lot of things, what you're wired for is what you want to lean into. So when you are working in all those ideas and you're thinking high level and forward, a lot of the times, that's a strength I don't necessarily have. And so I've always thought it was beautiful, even as a coach, to come alongside people who have all of the ideas, kind of stream them, make it doable so that they can flow in them. Now, sometimes you have to actually sit down and work with the details a little bit. But when you're wired that way, there's so much free, it's so liberating to be able to let someone do that. But for someone, you don't ever have to be apologize or feel like you're dumping all of those details on someone either. Because I've been on that place too, or seen visionaries do that, where they feel apologetic because they feel like they're giving you all their crumbs or all their crappy stuff because they hate it so much or it drains them. And you're like, no, you should see the people that I've trained in, even admin tasks, or different things, and their eyes light up to say, I remember my first days. I started volunteering at my church in admin, and I was like 23, and it was like my dream job. And I just felt alive inside when someone would say, I have this messy document. Can you just make it look nicer or organize it, or this database and there's these names and I'm like, I need to do this with it, and I'm like, oh, I'll figure that out. And I would geek out on full-time access, step-by-step workbooks of how to create something from it. And I was like, it just lit me up. And so there's something beautiful about knowing what are your strengths, what are you good at, what does your business need most that only you can do. And then I think that, for people just starting out, that messy action applies here too. So, because, I haven't needed to hire a VA yet, but because I haven't yet, that's a new step. I know my messy action is going to be, I'm just going to have to start and clean it up as I go. And maybe it's not a long-term fit for a person, but that's okay. That's where you're trying it out. And you almost find out, oh, I work better with this personality or this skill set. Sometimes you don't know until you're diving into it as well. And so that that messy start it's just, I think it's one of the essentials of mindsets of a entrepreneur in so many things. Megan says, I need help with the logistics. Always love the dreaming and planning. Yeah. Yeah, the logistics are like the wheels.
And people like me love that. When somebody who is a big creative visionary is like, I have this dream of this project, and we're like, okay, this is how we can get it done. These are the timelines. That's what we want to do, we want to take the logistics and we can show you how to get it done in the proper way with the right timing. So never feel guilty if you hire someone to do that for you. That's what we're here for,
That energy that you come with when you naturally have these big ideas, there's so much energy that comes with that, and that gets us even more excited about the details. And but on the flip side, I've always also walked alongside people who, so maybe let's talk to some of the other types of people who maybe they're frustrated because they stepped out as an entrepreneur, or they had a vision, but being a visionary and thinking ahead wasn't necessarily their thing too. They kind of knew a general outcome, but they're like, I don't really know what to do with this. And do you have any tips for that kind of person?
like someone who's just starting out in their business and how to get started?
Yeah, or more they have more of a vague idea. It doesn't come with a strong vision and energy behind it. They just know a general direction they want to go, and they're like, okay, I want to do this. And you know, yeah, I need to figure out like how do I make this happen? Like, you know, yeah, the outcome is very general. Like I want to make the course. How do I go about it? Like, or just anything like that. Any
I
tips with
think
that?
some good questions to ask yourself is, what is the goal of this? Like, what do I want to accomplish? Is it creating a product and getting it out in the world? Is it sharing value? Is it, oh, I just want to put all my knowledge somewhere? If we can know what the goal is, we can put the steps in place. And even if you don't know the exact goal, maybe it's just like, I have a passion. Like, I just want to get this out there. I need people to get it. Enlisting someone to help you figure out what that goal is really going to help you market it to the right people, because if we don't know what you're looking to get back from it, we won't be able to know who to market it to. But really thinking through, like, who is this for? Why do I have such a passion for it? I think those are the questions that would be good to ask yourself. And even if you don't know the exact outcome, maybe you're like, I don't need a $20,000 launch, I just want it out there, then that's great. Like, so you just want to share value, you want to, with your audience, you want to make sure they have something that they can refer to, maybe it's a freebie or something. Knowing those types of answers to those questions are very helpful.
Yeah, so knowing what you need from a VA or from support is really key. Just to suit like, and that's what I've seen over and over again is being able to put language to expressing what you need. Do you even need someone to ask you good questions because you're good at the dialogue back and forth to draw it out, but it gets stuck in your head or in your mouth if you try and do it on your own. If you're an out loud processor and you just need someone to ask all those questions and kind of go around all the, I call it kind of going around the circle with all your questions to draw out all those pieces. Then being able to explain it to someone before they are ready to put it to action.
I
And your
also
VA will ask those questions too. So, right, they're going to ask, well, what do you need? And so don't be intimidated by all the questions either. We're just trying to draw it out the best you can, what's in your head and what's in your heart, and so that we can put it to action. You will put to action what is jumbled inside of your brain, whichever way.
And I
Yeah, I
think
love
that's
that.
a good personality trait too for somebody on your team. Might it be a VA or a social media manager or whoever you involve in your team, is being proactive, being a partner in your business, wanting to know, like, they're just not implementing, they're asking, like, why? Okay, what's the reason? Because they'll have other recommendations too, like, oh, I worked in this other business and they also launched a similar product and this is what we do. So
Mhm.
being really a partner in your business.
Yeah, yeah. Any other good mindsets that are really helpful as you move towards figuring out the help that you need and then even growing with the team? Because you started your business, but then in the last few years you had to build your own team as well. And
Yes.
so tell us some of the mindset shifts that it took you to kind of move into that space yourself.
So many, and our coach Anna has helped me with a lot of them in the last couple of years. But I think for me, since it is my business, obviously it has my name on it and I work with all the clients, really letting go of certain things and like not micromanaging. As I said before, I came from corporate where we had large teams, and that was like one of my favorite parts about corporate is that I had a team of like 10 under me and it was great and we all worked together. So it's really been a dream of mine to create a team, and now I have a team of 5, and they're amazing. Like, I'm so lucky. And going back to what you said before, like, I've gone through a lot of different people on my team. Now I have a dream team, but it doesn't happen right away. You learn a lot about yourself and how you should train people and onboarding them onto your team. But also I think letting go of things, you know, not having them to be your way, because a lot of the times they have a better way, you know, like they'll come up with something better, and letting them have ideas, especially certain VAs I have on my team like specialize in things, so they're better at certain things, not from a strategic standpoint, from implementing standpoint. So always listening to ideas and always being open to doing things differently, especially because they're in the nitty gritty, you know. So I'm always open to changing processes if they have ideas. But really, I think for me, like the hardest mindset is to like let go of certain things. Like I'm like, oh no, I'm still gonna do that. I'm still gonna do that for my my clients. And it's like, no, someone on your team can definitely
your
do
name
that.
is attached to it.
Yeah.
You started it and you're feeling so attached to it too. And like, what if they don't do it as well or care about it as much as you do? Yeah.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that was the hardest. But once you get past that and know that like there could be a mistake. Mistakes happen,
Mhm.
right? Like we just have to be okay with that. Like especially when we're training new people, or if they don't understand things, like that's going to happen, and that's part of training, and that's part of building a team. But then once you get that, you know, that team going, it is just it's unbelievable to see how many things can get done and accomplished for our clients so much faster than if I was sitting there micromanaging every single step of the way, like, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. So it's a big payoff.
Yeah. Big hurdle, big payoff.
Yeah.
And you, I know you grow along with it. And with every decision that you have to make, you're gonna grow and you're not meant to get it right all the
Mm-mm.
time right off the bat. And sometimes it's the messy mistakes that you remember the best later too.
Yes.
So you don't have to keep making them later. Unfortunately, that's a concept, that I realized, oh, I did learn faster or better when I did it, say the harder way at first.
Well, and I
Um,
think we all, as like small business owners, think that like you look at someone else's business and they're like they know everything. They've got it under wraps.
mhm.
Like they look like such, but we're all just figuring it out, right? As we go, we're learning,
Yeah.
we're doing better, and in the next 6 months, you're going to do way better than you did the last 6 months, and that's just the way it is. So if you
Mhm.
can kind of let go of like not having to do it perfectly, and that you're going to learn from it, which is hard. It's very hard. You'll just progress faster, you know?
All right. So I know this is a journey. We aren't going to solve this problem for you if you're watching in this conversation, but I also know you have some really useful tools that can help people. So for one, for the person who is overwhelmed and just looking at, okay, how do I just start getting ready to get help? What's something that you have available for them?
I have a freebie. It's my VA hiring guide. You can just follow the link in my bio and download it for free. Basically, it just walks you through the steps of prepping to get a VA, your first VA. So everything from what types of skills they're going to need, what types of tools you use in your business, to creating a job description, to where is that job description going to go, and interview questions, because I had a lot of hiring experience from my corporate days, but as soon as I got into the online business world, I realized that people don't really know how to hire and don't really know how to interview. And I was doing it for a lot of my clients, like interviewing new teammates for them when I was just a sole VA by myself. And so I figured this guide would be helpful for anybody that's looking to hire a new teammate.
So useful. All right, so maybe someone's also listening, and because that would be a huge help, and I'm probably gonna go grab it myself. Just so I've
Great.
got it, right? Who loves a good template? But also maybe there's someone here listening because maybe your big dream has been to, you know what, you want to leave your job. You want to create your own schedule and have the flexibility for your family or just the life that you want to create. You become more centered on some of the values and you're feeling really restricted in them. And so for that person, and they're thinking, oh, I could probably be a VA too. What does it take? How do you get started? tell us about, because you're in the middle of launching the course that you have that basically is all of the things you learned the hard way and the long way. And you've said, you know what, I want to save some. So tell us a little bit about that in case someone's listening.
Yeah, so I'm really excited that I'm launching the Fast Track Your VA Business course right now. I've been wanting to do this course for so long and finally did it. And basically when I started, I didn't really have like a mentor or a guide, or I had no idea what I was doing. I just like jumped in and figured it out. I Googled, I Pinterest, I got all the freebies I could and just did it. But I didn't want new VAs to have to do it, especially right now. The industry is like booming, so they can jump in and get clients like today if they wanted. So I put everything I had learned, or what I like to say is like the 7 main steps to getting your first clients and creating a solid foundation for your VA business into this course. There's 7 modules. They're about 8 to 12 minutes video modules. And then with each module, I have a guide or a customizable template or, you know, something having to do with an action step for that module. But it's self-paced. When I started, I had 2 babies at home. I was doing the nap time hustle. I had like 1 client. So I didn't want you to have to worry about calls or anything like that. You can jump in and do the whole thing in a day, or you can take it week by week, whatever works for you. So yeah, I'm launching it right now. And if you want any information, you can follow the link in my bio, and there's a whole landing page for it.
Yes, everything's in Meredith's bio. So if any of this intrigues you, you've got more questions, you'll find all her info in her bio. Meredith, it's been a pleasure to just kind of unpack all of this big topic, I know, and it's a journey. And so the cool thing is that we're here. Be sure that you follow Meredith and myself, because this really is a journey. You're not going to learn it all in one day. Often you're going to have more questions than you find answers. And so it's just nice to know, you know, when they pop up on the feed, you can inspire someone off to say, okay, where do I find the answer to this question? And we're here to help and inspire, and when the road gets bumpy too. And so, yeah, we're here for the long haul, not just the, you know, here's the conversation. Now we expect you to get it all right. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Meredith, thanks so much for chatting today. It was great
Thanks
to hang
for
out with
having
you.
me.
Bye.